Hey guys, welcome in. This is Chef Patrick Alexander, and this is Chef Patrick's Classic Kitchen. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be doing a shrimp and grits. I love shrimp and grits. I'm from the South. Shrimp and grits is one of the things that you can almost find in all your definitely high-end restaurants and some of your moderate restaurants as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to get down into it. First thing we're going to do, we're going to start off with our grits. We're going to go ahead, have about a cup of grits, now with 3/4 cups of grits. I'm going to pour those in, and then I'm going to start it off with water. And what you want is probably about a half an inch above the actual grit line, So what we're going to do, we're going to add a little butter to those grits. There we go. And then we're going to get the stirring on them. We're in the grits. Yeah. So I am a traditional old-fashioned grit guy. I don't like milk or cream in my grits. Just you can start off with a water base, or either you can start off with a broth base, maybe vegetable broth, chicken broth, whatever the case is. But I do not like milk in my grits or cream. So because one, it changes the texture, and I like that gritty. I like the grit, that little texture that you have when you bite into a grit. So now, from there, we're going to actually start on our sausages. Here I have andouille sausage. It's going to give another rich profile flavor for the shrimp and grits. Get that high up, and we're just going to let that do its thing really slow, let it cook up on its own. And so while we're doing that, and when you're doing grits, one main thing is you got to keep them stirred, because if you don't keep them stirred, they will stick and they will clump, and that's a bad grit. You don't want that. So now we got that going now. Also, remember, I always talk about building flavors. If that's what we're going to do here, we're going to build flavors. I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper to this mix here. I already have the butter, and that's got it going. So now my andouille sausage is starting to go really well. So now, while the andouille sausage works up and the grit is working up, we're going to start, once that gets to a point, we're going to start building flavors. So we'll be right back. When we come back, I'll show you how to finish this up. All right, welcome back. Join in with me. So we got our grits cooking really well. We have our andouille sausage cooking really well. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and add celery. We're going to add a little pepper, and this is orange and yellow bell pepper. Going to add that, and we're going to add some onions. So in the culinary terms, and also down south, New Orleans, this is called the Holy Trinity. And so the Holy Trinity is these items that they pretty much use in almost all of their dishes, seafood dishes, and things that have a good stock or broth base or roux base type situation. They use their Holy Trinity. And so that's what we're going to toss this up, get that looking really, really nice. Now we're going to put a little season to it, a little salt and pepper. And remember, we're just building flavors. We're constantly building flavors. And that's starting to look nice. Now, we're going to take a little thyme, and we're going to add a little thyme to it as well. This is fresh thyme that I just pulled off the stems. Alrighty. And we're going to toss that up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. See how that looks? That's that beautiful color. Remember what I told you about? When you have all the different colors, the more colors you have, the more healthier the dish is. And so that's what we do. So now we're going to let this simmer down a little bit. And so then the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to go into our shrimp, sauteing our shrimp off. But before we do that, we're going to add some more seasoning. Now this seasoning here is one that my own little version of Creole seasoning that I made, and we're going to just sprinkle this right into it. I can't give you the recipe, so sorry. You can buy your own. So anyway, yeah, so we're going to put some of this Creole seasoning in here for the shrimp and grits. Let that get going really well. Yeah, that's what we like. That's what we like. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to set that aside, and then we're going to work on the shrimps. So when we come right back, I'm going to show you how to do the shrimp. All right, we're back again. So now we've got our vegetables cooked off to the side. We got grits going. So what we're going to do with our grits, now I'm going to take some stock, some chicken stock. I started it off with water, you notice that, right? But now I'm going to move to stock because, again, we're going to build flavors. So I'm adding some stock in. So now our grits, we're going to make that cheese grits, of course. And I got a trick for you on that. We're going to elevate these shrimp and grits real quick. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start with sauteing off the shrimp. So all I'm going to do is just add a little oil and make sure that pan is coated very well and nicely. And just, you know, as a precaution, you always want to make sure that your shrimp is dry. Any of your seafood is dry. One, you don't want the oil popping back up and you don't want to start a fire. And then two, you want a good caramelization on your seafood. So, all right. So now we're going to roll that right in here. And then, of course, season. You don't, like I said, you don't ever not want to season any part of your dish, any layer of your dish. If you have different items in your dish, they should taste good even if you eat them separately. If you destruct your dish and say, oh, I just want to taste the grits, I just want to taste of it, I want to taste this, everything should be seasoned. And when it comes together, it shouldn't be over seasoned. So that's the balance. So you notice we didn't put a whole lot on that. And so our grits are still working and they're looking good. And what we don't want the grit to have that crunchy taste to it. We want our grits to have a smooth, filling, a little al dente texture, but not crunchy. All right, so yeah. Now, I'm gonna add a little garlic to my shrimp. And get that going. And then we're going to go back to our grit and make sure our grit is still doing fine. Our grit is doing great. It's doing amazing. So now what we're about to do, we're going to add just a little Parmesan cheese for right now because we wanted to go ahead and thicken up. And we want to also see what that flavor is going to, that's in a texture of that's going to be like. Stir that in. Our shrimp is looking pretty good. Let's stir that in. All right. Now, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to show you how we're going to incorporate all this together. All right. All right, and now we're back. So, what we're going to do now, everybody always know what a roux is. It's basically flour, butter, chicken stock, that type of thing, and you build your roux base. But what we're going to do now is what's called a compound roux. We're going to add a little bit more butter to what we already have mixed up. And we're going to let that melt in. And that all. So what we're doing, we have enough butter that we can also incorporate the roux. And so when we start adding the flour, it's all going to work together. So it's not going to be too much. So yeah, so now our grits are on fire right now. That's what's up. So we're gonna add a little bit more Parmesan cheese because it's like the right consistency right now. And now at this point, if you're adding your cheese and it starts to get a little thick, just keep dousing it with chicken stock. No longer water, chicken stock or vegetable stock, whatever you like to do. And so here we go. Now this is starting to look like how we want it to look. And see, now we got a lot of fat in there. This is going to help that roux thicken up and darken up, and then we'll go from there. So now let that melt down a little bit more. We're going to make sure our grits are stirred consistently. Look at that. Yep, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So now I'm just going to go ahead and throw my little bay leaves, my 3. I'm always 3. Bay leaves always in 3. I'm going to go ahead and throw them in because that's what we're going to build that roux from there. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's what's up. So now I'm going to take some flour and we're going to put some flour in here. And let's start off, and if you put some flour in and it is too much, you can always add a little bit more butter, but it's always safe to add just a little bit at a time to see where you are. And we're still kind of looking for that peanut butter consistency when we build a roux. So we want it a little thicker than what it is right now. Look at that, yeah. And it's still not that consistency. So we still just keep adding until we get the consistency we want. And at the same time, it's still browning. And then the flavors from everything else, the sausage, the vegetables, all of that is just cooking right in, cooking down into it. Okay. So all right, I think I want it right there. Oh no, a little bit more. All right, we're gonna leave it right there. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna let that thicken up and we're gonna let it brown. Now you can smell the spices, you smell the Creole seasoning, you can smell the balance of everything. It's wonderful. All right. So now we're gonna check our grits again. Grits are looking fabulous. And what we wanna do is we wanna get a quick taste. Please be careful, grits are hot. When my daughter was little, maybe 6 months, I was feeding her grits and I forgot to blow them, put them in her mouth, and she was shaking and crying. She's mad at me. She's still mad at me about that now. Let's just, oh, yes, excellent. Oh, yes, excellent. So now, we want this roux to darken up. We're just gonna do a dark roux. We're not gonna do a black roux. A black roux, it tastes very good as well. It adds a whole nother almondy, like coconut, well, just a buttery, nuttery type taste to it. It's really fabulous. So, but what we're gonna do, I'm thinking this is getting to the consistency I want. So now, I want it to be a little darker. So I'm not going to do the go-to, the savory, the kitchen bouquet. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a little paprika. Because that kitchen bouquet will make it really, really dark. It'll make it gravy dark. I don't want it gravy dark. I want it to have a little texture to it. So now, from here, we're going to start adding our stock. There we go. And we're going to keep it stirring. And it's going to take about 3 to 4 cups to get it to the place that we like it. So we're just going to keep adding. And we're going to keep stirring. Now we're going to shut the grits off because the texture is right and it's cooking in there. Now we're just going to work on this roux. We're going to work on this base for our shrimp. So we're going to add a little bit more stock because it's still too thick. Remember, we're trying to get it to nappe, right? Yeah, that's the thing that we always talk about, nappe. So that's where we're going. And we mix it in there. Yeah, look at that. So you want to get all that thickness out. You want to get all that flour, because this is going to be your gravy. This is going to be the thing that ties your whole thing together, your whole dish, the shrimp and the grits. It's going to tie it all together. Look at that. Look at that. That's beautiful, right? So I'm going to take it a little bit more stock. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to taste this to see where we're at. See if we need a little bit more of the Creole seasoning, or if we need a little more salt and pepper. And we can do a little bit more paprika. Oops, I made it a little too much. We can definitely get more paprika to give it a little bit more color. So we can definitely do that. And it's going to give it that brownish color, not red. You would think it would be red, but it's not. All right, look at that. See how that looks? That looks beautiful, right? Let's taste it. Let's see what we need. That's awesome. We don't really need anything. Oh yeah, that's awesome. But it's thickening up. So you gotta watch it, because it will thicken really, really quick. And you want to keep it at a certain level. So, if it's starting to thick too much, too quickly, turn your heat down. Now what we got going on, we got our thyme in there. We got our bay leaves. And that's what's popping with that. So now when we come back, we're gonna do the last little step. All right, see you in 2. All right, welcome back. So this is Chef Patrick Alexander. This is Chef Patrick Classic Kitchen, and today we're working on this shrimp and grits that we're putting together, and it's looking good. It's coming together, all good. So now we've already got the grits going. We've got the roux going really well. And we're just going to add just a little bit more stock, because we don't want it to get too thick. And there you go. So this is all flavor. Now, what I'm going to do, I want to get something very clear. We don't ever want to put raw food with cooked food and cook it up. Some people say, well, hey, I'm just going to do the shrimp and throw it right in. No, you don't want to do that. That's a bad deal. So what you want to do is always cook your shrimp off first, like what we did, and then you add it to this, like what we're about to do right now. And be sure to get all that love out of the pan. That's that shrimp flavor, that's that seasoning, that's everything. Now, I didn't show you this, but you can, if you buy whole shrimp that's already still have the shells on, you can shell them yourself and take those shells, put them in some water, add some carrots, celery, and onion, and some bay leaf, and you can make your own broth to add in. You don't have to use chicken stock. You can do it that way. Or you can just go buy fish stock out of the store, whichever one. So, all right, so we're back. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna mix all of this in. And we're gonna let it simmer just for a little bit. We want that shrimp to soak up all that flavor, give a little bit more heat. And so now, I told you we were going to do something different with these grits. Here it is. Gonna elevate it. This is crumbled blue cheese. We're just gonna add a little blue cheese. This is gonna add a whole nother texture, a whole nother flavor. It's gonna be excellent. Add your little blue cheese crumble. Stir up your grits. Now, I have enough stock in here. I'm gonna use some water now. Because remember, when you're adding stock, if you're adding broth, salted broth, you're adding salt into it every time. So it's okay at some point, if you're thinking you're gonna keep adding it, to go ahead and add some water, because water has no sodium. All right, so now we're looking good. So, all right, so now we've elevated our grits, put some blue cheese crumbles in. We've got our shrimp gumbo here, sort of ish, speaking with our broth, got it going. So when we come back, we're gonna plate it up and we're gonna taste it. All right, welcome back. We're back on task. This is Chef Patrick Alexander in Chef Patrick Classic Kitchen, and what we're working on today is a shrimp and grit, a one bowl eatery. So basically, we did our shrimps in a brown roux that we use. It's a Creole brown roux, and then we did our grits a little separately. We remember we used chicken broth, and we did some Parmesan cheese, and we elevated a little bit and added some blue cheese crumble, and we're just going to put those grits right there in the middle. Yeah, there we go. And the clumps that you see, it's not clump grits, that's the blue cheese crumbles. So now from there, we're going to take, you want to make sure you get a little bit of everything. You want to get some shrimp, you want to get some sausage, you want to get vegetables. You want to put it all over that right there. And for the sake of time, you know, what we always do is we always add maybe some greenery on here. We didn't do that today, but that would complete the dish 100%. But yet what we're going to do right now, we're going to make sure, remember, we got to rim this plate, make sure that it looks decent and presentable. And then we're going to top it off with a little parsley right there. Now this is some good eating. All right, here we are. This is Chef Patrick's Shrimp and Grits. So thank you for joining in at Chef Patrick's Classic Kitchen. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to thank the sponsors for their contribution. And hey, look me up on chefpatrick.com. Also, you can look at palexanders.com. You can hit me on pchef on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn as under Chef Patrick. So see you next time.